Hi, Laura Layla. I have a kind of an answer for this question. First of all, I would say that it can't be analyzed sort of the way you ask the questions, which you might not be thinking of it the way I'm going to describe those questions. What those questions imply, some subtle implications. It could just be the language, the language, quote unquote, implies it. But is this idea that like there's a level and a point and a threshold where the evidence is piled up, but that's not what's going on. This is a much more we have to look at more of a cognitive science approach to how people are thinking. We can't think of it as a chain of reason or even unreason. It's not a chain of thinking that then finally goes, oh, I've got enough evidence and now I'm on this side of the behavior. It's framing where the idea that when I say a word, it brings a certain cluster of ideas and feelings, right? And I say another word, and if these words or images, any kind of triggering sensation, words are just the symbolic one, but it brings in this network of ideas and feelings. And if the words are about something really where there's a primal affect, like a sexual energy, hunger, there might be some social urges, social urges, and people have their own individual ones, but something like a sexual symbol or signifier brings this thought in. So, in other words, a guy does not even have to find a woman attractive. If she's wearing something to show her cleavage, it's quite likely that, like a word in the English language, heard, to him that means something sexual, a sexual communication, and that part of his mind will come in. Now, I don't get abusive, but I was thinking about this, and I was realizing, well, I do have an emotional point relative to this kind of subject, where I do have a behavior change. I don't get abusive, but I don't watch the videos. And it's not that there's a rule, it's when when I detect that I'm in a conversation with a sexual countertone. Problem with this sexual countertone, especially in intellectual things, is it's at least the way we do it, and maybe even biologically, it's very primal. There's deception and allowed and involved, and for it to be an undercurrent, you're getting an extra unconscious, less conscious, less trackable, less fair, less even, line of communication in addition to what they're saying. So as an example, Hop for Words, I noticed Hop for Words, this channel, when she just had, I think, a couple thousand subscribers. And it was great. And, she was definitely dressing provocative, but it didn't, for me anyway, it was kind of a joke. It was obviously like, I thought, well, maybe she was an ex-model. This is her new hobby. She's used to do, or currently a model, and she's, that's just the way she is at this point. So she lets it be. It's part of, I get to be who I am on the internet. So it's not the style of dress, but it's this interpretation. Now, most Western men will make these interpretations in very trivial things, definitely style of dress. But I thought she was talking about the words and that she was linking it up, in sexiest, smart ideas. Then as she got really popular, the titles and the words, the title started to change to nipple bra or whatever. And I that wasn't a word I was interested in. And sometimes when I did click anyway to see what was going on with her, and I haven't watched her for years now, I don't even know if she's around. I imagine she's probably pretty successful. The word was something different, and the title just had this, and I thought, okay, great. I'm being involved in this a sexual dialogue, a flirty aspect in a conversation that I don't want to have. So I leave. I lose interest in the conversations. But I think a lot of guys are so out of control of their intentionality with feelings from primal affects that they're stuck, and inside they might be unconsciously, mind you. I'm saying something I think that goes on unconsciously. people in question would mostly not at all have any chance of vocalizing this, but this is how I picture, you know, this kind of thing going, though there's an infinite number of actual stories of it, but maybe it'll give you the gist. So that in their head there's this conflict, right? And they feel like they're being drawn in. For many men, this brings out their anger. Their anger at women is that they know they're being manipulated, and they're stuck there going, I hate being manipulated, but I would hate not seeing this woman's breasts even more. And they get all wacky and abusive. And to them, again, unconsciously, if there was a rational thinking, it's a defense mechanism. It's a defense mechanism because they're being controlled, right? And if they're insulting a woman that's dressing with a low-cut shirt because they think she's ugly, maybe even mainstream judgment would think that. Well, these guys, they're still trapped. Their sexual part has been brought in, and it's there, and they can't get rid of it. Like, women can easily, compared to men, get rid of a sexual component when they're not sexually attracted to someone. Right? I mean, a man has to be really in your face, like nude or silly Speedo style, totally in their face and dancing. Even a nude man, a woman could, if they're not attracted, it's like, well, that's not a sexual thing. You know? They can interpret it, not that, and that guy has to show. I mean, if the guy's just like, he dresses that way, men have a lot more difficulty with that. If a woman is wearing clothes, you know, a French maid's costume, not a real one, but with sexy style, you know, caricature style, and she's not, the guy doesn't find her attractive, it is pain for him. Because there's a signal in his brain telling him how he's supposed to react, and then so he's still being manipulated by this woman, and she's not even attractive. He could be manipulated sexually by anybody, and they panic inside. You know, there's with the homophobic, truly homophobic, violent homophobic reactions. Man could not handle his sexual emotional line. Just the symbology of sex, mind you. That's why I'm bringing up when he's not even really attracted. When he's so unattracted, there's no way he would have sex with that person. You couldn't pay him to. But in his mind, he can't say, so I'll stop using the sexual part of my mind to think about this. He's stuck there using a sexual part of his mind, which is always supposed to be in there if there's a sexual thing to think about. And so, you know, this turmoil in their mind leads to lashing out, or the opposite, similar emotional response of contacting someone they don't even know, or acting like there's could be a mutual attraction, misinterpreting their own, you know, reaction. Sort of automated behavior. You know, you could categorize it, oh, that person must be very lonely, or that person must be this, or no, you'd be surprised the different amount of people that can find themselves in situations like this, and typing messages to whomever and whatnot. And it has more to do with an automated kind of thinking. They're letting framing, the way they think of the world, when they see a sexual thing, and this could happen in any trigger, but this is just an area I think is prone to it. They have an automatic reaction. They have a frame, a way of looking at the world of sexual issues, right? And instead of thinking through this particular situation and going, but wait, she's talking about macrame. I really love macrame. Let's listen to the facts. How's that stitch work? Instead of doing a unique conscious, instead of being conscious, the sex frame comes in and it just rattles on, and then it goes, oh, and is she fat? Is she brunette like I like? Is she this like I like? Or is she not that? Is she nice? Is she Is she wild? And it's just a series of them replaying the history of their life, figuring out what kind of person they like and stuff. And at the end of that, they're embroiled in a thought vortex, right? And especially online, where even if people try to engage that positively, like, yay, I'm not going to be insulting, and they're still insulting those people. The compliments are insulting. Because it's insanity speaking. Because even if they're making that connection, going for it, not been being revulsed or whatever, it's through the computer. They can't actually be there. It's artificial. The body wants to continue and fulfill this thing with smells and touch and taste and other sensations. So you're going to especially see a selection bias towards disordered thinking. And that's my explanation. As a philosopher, though, not as a man. No, it was as a man, too, actually.